Okay, first thing this morning when I woke up, I got my phone, like I always do, turn it on to turn my alarm off, and I start scrolling through TikTok and YouTube and all these different forms of social media, and people, it's like panic and fear started happening overnight. And I constantly deal with that because of my posts about Jesus and about the end times. But it seems like there's a very real panic going on overnight. And it has to do with the end of the world. And last night I made a video about false prophets. And I just felt the need to make that. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm not saying that I have a feeling about any specific person being a false prophet, but I know that there's a lot of people who are trying to see the future, or maybe God is showing them the future. My point is, before you panic, pray. That's what we're supposed to do over everything. When you start hearing all these things about the end of the world, in scary ways, if it's something I say, if it's something another creator says, if it's something a pastor says, if it's something you see or the news, anything, it doesn't matter where you get the information. Pray about it. Pray before you believe it, but also pray before you pass it off. Don't just hop in and believe something because everybody else is. Does that make sense? You don't have to follow the crowd on everything, but also don't just push it away, because if you are hearing things, we desperately need God's wisdom. We desperately need Him to tell us what is real and what is coming from false prophets. And if you get scared, everybody's going to feel a normal amount of fear. That's not anything. Christians even do it. It's not that if you feel fear, something's bad. If you feel fear, pray. Check your heart. That's all I'm saying. Christians can feel fear over this, and it's because it's the unknown. It's because the book of Revelation, the Bible, is unfolding. It truly is. How fast it goes, I don't know. I haven't been given any visions. If I ever felt like God was showing me a specific something to spread, I would tell you. And you better know, if I say something like that, it's because God told me. So I don't feel anything right now about any specific event or anything. But what I do feel so strongly about is whatever you hear, pray about it first. Before you accept it as truth, before you pass it off as false, pray about it. Truly seek God's wisdom to know right and wrong. Because now, the closer it gets to the end of the world, and that is every day. I mean, that's kind of common sense. Every day we live is taking us closer. So the closer it gets, the more confusion Satan is going to try to put in the world. He is going to make false prophets appear from everywhere, so that when the true prophets come up, there will be so much false around us, we're going to have a hard time being able to tell who's who and, who's right and who's wrong. We've got to pray about it first. That is what I hear from God. That's what God is putting on my heart. Pray about everything. Try not to panic. If you feel that fear, talk to God about it. Talk to God. Talk to Christians. Pray to God to show you someone to talk to. The right people in your path. He will. But we have to truly seek God, and He will do it. So, I'm sure there are lots of people who have been seeing, just different prophets saying specific events and stuff, but don't take it as truth, but don't take it as false either before you pray. So God's the one. Trust not in chariots and horses but in man. Trust in God. Put your trust in God first off. Put your trust. God gives certain people wisdom and certain things to say. And I hear so many people, how do I know what's real? How do I know what's false in this world where there's so much just needling at our brains? Satan is doing that. He is trying to cause mass confusion so we will not be able to discern between the true prophets and the false prophets. So pray. And when people ask me, how do I know? Pray. I tell everybody that. Pray. But don't pray in panic. It doesn't matter what is going on in the world. It doesn't matter what chaos is around you. Stop and slow your brain down. Take a deep breath and pray. Because in God is the safety, in God is the peace, and in God there is no fear. So, when you have God in your heart, He knows we're going to fear. Fear is not a sin. He tells us not to fear, to comfort us. There's no reason to fear if we have God, and that's what He wants you to do. When you feel the fear, and everybody will, when you feel it, go to God.